Cloudwall's entire focus is on digital asset risk management. And one of the risks we want to talk about today is the risks that come from stablecoins and protocols. Stablecoins are incredibly important for DeFi. They're essentially a tokenized cash position. You can shift in and out of risky positions easily with them. They're necessary for many derivatives trades. And of course, they're widely used in DeFi protocols, particularly the yield protocols. They're thus, from a digital asset risk perspective, hard to avoid. For me, the more interesting question is about how should they be built if they're unavoidable. And people have taken three approaches: fiat collateralized like USDC and Tether, crypto collateralized like DAI, and algo stables, most famously recently like UST, but also Frax. So let's look at the pros and cons. So with fiat collateralized, you have lower complexity and the reserves are very easy to line up with the peg. The downside is you have a liquidity mismatch potentially between the instrument that you're trading as a token and the reserves. The incentives are somewhat dangerous in terms of the issuer is incentivized to hold reserves in higher risk instruments, and they have some regulatory risk. They're likely going to be classified to be bank account-like. So a lot of those issues go away with crypto collateralized. It's a different regulatory treatment. They're not connected to the traditional financial system, and they're just nicely aligned with a broader preference in DeFi to stand alone and apart from the rest of the financial system. The downside is you get higher complexity, lower liquidity on the instruments and the reserves, and a reserve value that can vary dramatically. And so there's a question of how much is enough to be safe. So that leaves us with the algo stables. They have many of the advantages of crypto collateralized, and they add on top the fact that they have no collateral at all in some designs. The downside is the very high complexity due to the arbitrage mechanism. And so the design of that mechanism becomes the most important thing in terms of the risk. And another aspect people don't often talk about is that arbitrage only works when there are both willing buyers and sellers. And so if they disappear, you have an implied liquidity risk. So with UST, when the issuance mechanism entered into a hyperinflationary spiral, people just weren't willing to trade to bring it back in line with the peg. So given that there are issues with all three, what's the answer? So the first thing is we can't treat stablecoins as a risk-free asset. They need risk models too. The second thing, and perhaps surprisingly, is I think we need more investment in algo stables. They show a lot of promise and they don't have all the issues that come with keeping collateral. And I will say that if someone out there cracks this, it would be hugely significant for the future of finance to get this right. I'm Kyle Downey, CEO and co-founder of Cloudwall.